This is a walled substrate that I had made, and as you can see, the outer edge has a wall on it, and I'm going to be mosaicing in this center area here. And it's going to make it really easy doing this, and I won't have to be too concerned about any sharp edges on the outer piece because of the walls. It will protect that edge as well. The other thing is too that it's going to give it a really nice finish too. Now this was actually made by a company called Merlin Mosaic, and I'll put their website down the bottom of the screen here in case you'd like to go and have a look at their website. Now they already do make walled substrates. However, this has been specifically made for me. I had the artwork and I gave it to them to actually create this piece. I've had this for a little while, so there are a few marks on it, but that's easily fixed. I put those marks on it and I can easily just repaint that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this. It's for a new baby boy that's going to be born, and I'm going to actually mainly do it with stained glass, not big pieces like this, but smaller pieces, and it's going to be semi-transparent. So by having this white, it will make it a lot better to actually show up those colors that are in this stained glass. And I'm thinking about maybe using a few different blues. I'm not really quite sure. Something that I'll work through. And I'm going to be using these as well. And I'm going to be choosing sort of like the colors that suit this. And what I like about this is because this is for a baby boy, these type of stars and hearts and moon shapes will come in really, really quite handy. And some of these are iridized and some of them are just also non-iridized. So I think if I sort of put these in different areas, I think they'll look really quite good for a newborn baby. So that's my plan of attack. And what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to get some of these and adhere this down, let that adhesive cure, and then what I'll do is I can go in and fill in with the stained glass. What I can also do is I can actually, if I wanted to, I can actually infill this whole area with the stained glass that I've got and then stick these on top. So it would, for argument's sake, put that in there, I could do this and stick them on top. However, that's one way that you can do it, but I think I prefer to actually adhere these down first in the areas that I want to put them and then adhere the stained glass around those focal pieces. So I'm going to actually clear this area and then I'm going to sort out some of these, the ones that I want to use, and then we'll come back and we'll start adhering these little pieces down. Well, this is my little whimsical design that I've come up with. It's kind of a fun piece, and I've just made sure that those colours are scattered throughout the H. Now, I also need to make sure that these colours are going to work with my stained glass that I've chosen. But I'm thinking about maybe using this very large sheet of blue, purple, iridized stained glass. I'm not really quite sure, but the colours I've chosen will work with either sheet. Now, there is one thing, I am using blue in this H and I'm also using blue in the actual stained glass. So you're not going to see this as noticeable as if this was on a yellow piece or something like that. But I don't consider that to be a major issue because you can still see the heart here, and I'm only using 2 or 3 pieces of the blue. So I don't see that as a major issue, but when you're talking about design, you need to make sure that you look at those things. You've got to make sure that the colours and the grout all play nicely together, which in this case I think that they do. The grout I'm looking at using is Litokol Translucent grout because that grout will reflect the colours of the stained glass in the grout lines, and I think that will look really, really good. So anyway, what I'm going to do now, and a couple of other things, is that I've got these pieces here, this star here, and this star here as well. Now, I want to put something in this corner, but obviously it's not going to fit. So what I'm going to do is just cut this. And when you're cutting, I don't normally cut over my mosaic that I'm doing because I don't want to put bits of shards in it. But this is just 2 pieces that I'm going to be cutting, so I don't have an issue with it. And these cut absolutely beautifully, I might say. And I'm just going to put that in there just to help offset it so that, we're not looking at everything being a full piece. It just adds to the design. And then you keep this piece for something else, or I could actually put this piece in there and that will still work. But in this instance, I'm going to cut this one now. And put that in there as well. So what I'm going to do is start adhering this down. So I've got my prep here. So I'll just start sticking these down. And you won't need too much. You can even put it on the tessera if you like. Some people like doing that. I prefer to put it on the substrate, but I'll put it on the tessera. And I just find putting it on the substrate is easier for me. But like I say, there's no hard and fast rule. It's dependent on what you like. I'm actually going to put that up there a little bit. Now I'm going to get in here and also wipe away some of this excess glue because I want to be able to butt the stained glass up to that. So I'm going to get a cotton bud and I'm going to wipe that glue away from the outside, which won't be an issue. I think this is going to look quite good. Now I'm just going to turn this around so I can actually see it because I want to make sure that the actual design of it is right. And this artboard, this blue artboard, I distorted that because I used a heat gun near it and it distorted it. So I need to get another one because it makes this very wobbly. And if you haven't got Prep multi-use adhesive, you can use Weld Bond for this. You can use Mac Glue. It's just dependent on what you want to use and what's available in your area. Right, now I'm just going to get in with some of these cotton buds and just wipe around the edge there, just to level that out a bit. I'm on the last piece and I'm not using as much adhesive now. Slow learner. So anyway, I'll let this dry for a day or two and then we'll come back and start infilling with the stained glass. Well, the glue has all cured and now I'm ready to start infilling with the stained glass, which I have here. I've cut it up into strips and now all I need to do is cut it up into smaller pieces of tessera. And I'm sure many people out there who are in the mosaic industry can relate to that. You never have the right shade or you never have the right tessera. Even though you may have mountains and mountains of it, it's never the right one to use. And I had a particular glass picked out and it's already cut up and I was going to use that, but then I decided, no, it's not the right shade. So you either have to go out and buy the sheet that you want, but in this particular case, I already had a sheet here. It just meant I had to cut into a new sheet. So many of you can relate, I'm sure, that you never have the right amount of tessera in your stock when it comes to choosing. Now, if you haven't handled stained glass before or you're a bit unsure, always wear your gloves, your protective gloves, so that you don't cut yourself because it is very, very sharp. And always wear your safety glasses as well when cutting it up or using it. Now, the infill, I'm going to be using my MiniMaxi Grinder here. I'm going to actually be grinding each piece to make sure that there's no sharp edges on. I don't normally use a grinder a lot. However, in saying that, because this is going into a baby's room, I really want to make sure that there aren't any edges on it that could be sharp, just in case someone handles it. So I'm going to be using the MiniMaxi Grinder. I've already scored and used my running pliers for the glass, so I'm pretty well good to go. All right, I have my container full of tessera, although I might need some more. So I'm ready to start infilling. So I'm just going to get a piece, make sure it's iridized side up. Although really, to be honest, it really probably doesn't matter if I use a mixture of iridized and not iridized. And that may happen. We'll see how we go. I might decide to change my mind. Okay, let's put it there. Just take that edge off as well. Just to give me an idea. Got my plastic container here that I'm cutting into. so those shards don't flick all over my floor. Okay, and we'll start grinding that down. Oops. Beautiful. And now we'll move on to the next piece. Oh, I think that will work quite well. So we'll just take that corner off there. Bit more. Grind that down and that should be fine. If you're not happy with the piece, take it out. Don't leave it in there because it will haunt you if it's not right. That's better. Okay, another piece. Just so as I know, I'm going to just carve a little bit out there, and that's the wonderful thing about the grinder, is I can just use the grinder to do that. See how we go. Perfect. Now we need to nip a bit out for that star, because of that star. Right, that might make it a bit easy for you to see. Now these little areas here, I'm actually going to be filling those in a little bit later. I'm going to be using the shards that are in this plastic container that I'm cutting into. I'm going to be using the shards there to fill in. So pretty well everything that you cut off in a mosaic, in your, with regards to your tessera, you will be able to use that in some form or another. So I rarely throw anything out unless it's tiny little shards like that. Then they just go straight in the bin. So I'll continue on now. Don't forget that if you get too much glue in your grout lines, take it out. Don't leave it in there because you need enough room for the grout to get into. Well, there you go. I think it's looking quite good. This side is almost finished. I've got some more cleaning up to do, and I've got this side to do here. Of course, that being the largest side. So anyway, I'm going to have a bit of a break and then I'll probably get back into it tomorrow. It's grout time, and as you can see, I've already put masking tape on the area to protect it. I probably didn't need to, but that's just my preference. I prefer to actually mask things off. I don't mind masking, and I just find that helps quite a lot with cleaning up. Now I'll put a photograph on the screen now so that you can see the piece before I did all the masking. And I think it's coming along quite well. It's proceeding as planned, and I hope it continues down that path. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be grouting it in the Litokol Translucent grout. I find I really love this grout, and it's easy to work with, and I find that it does a beautiful job. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up the grout. Now, I won't show you how to do that because I've already done videos on that before, and I'll put a link up the top of the screen here somewhere if you want to go and have a look at my video on mixing and using the Litokol Translucent grout. So I'll go and mix that all up, and then we'll come back and I'll grout this piece. Okay, let's get into it. I've got everything mixed up here. Okay, I think it's working now with my hands. Another thing what I really love about this grout is that the Catalyst B is only classed as an irritant. It's neither corrosive nor hazardous for the environment, which is also important, I think, for the end user too. because after all, we are working with it. And I know some people hate grouting, but I really love it. Whether it's a sanded grout or an epoxy grout, it's just part of the process, and I just really enjoy grouting. Okay, now we're going with a sponge. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave that for around about the 10-minute mark. Back shortly. Okay, it's been around about 15 minutes, and now I'm going to go in with a very damp scourer, white scourer, and I'm just going to go over it now. Now this is the time that you want to go and check everything as well. Make sure that there's no epoxy grout or anything that's burying your tessera at all, because when epoxy grout cures, you will not get it off. And I'll just go in with a very dry cloth and wipe it all down. I don't want to let that dry on there without wiping it down with a cloth. All right, I'll start removing this tape, and then we will come back and see what it's like with all the tape removed. Well, it's all finished, and I'm really happy with the way it looks. Now, I did give the wall here a coat of fresh paint because this substrate had been sitting around at my place for a little while, and it did receive some bumps and some marks. So by giving it a fresh coat of paint, it brought it back to its original state. I've also spray painted the back here just to make it look a bit better, and I need to put the hangers on, which I'll do in the next day or two. Now, I just need to point out that I really did enjoy using the MiniMaxi Grinder for grinding my stained glass pieces down. It did a wonderful job with a very small footprint, so I really loved using it. And of course, I loved using, as always, the Litokol Translucent epoxy grout. It just brings the piece together without altering the look of the actual mosaic like your normal sanded grouts can do. Now, I've put some links in the information box or the description box of this video on the YouTube channel to the suppliers, and I've also added other links to some videos and some other products I think you might be interested in. And go and check that out, and I hope that you've taken something away from this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any comments, put them down in the bottom of my YouTube channel in the comments section there, and I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.